This is Customizing the Clone Wars. Thanks for joining us, folks. I am your host, Peak Obi-Wan, and along with me, my co-host is here. His name is Darth Daddy. How you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Can't see. Oh, all right, now it's working. Yeah, doing well. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking Lair of Grievous.
Oh, yeah. This is the episode. In my opinion, I feel it is the one that really started to ramp things up, don't you think?
Yeah, it was nice to see like Kit Fisto in action.
Yeah.
This is like one of the times that we're starting to see some of the other Jedi Council members and how they operate, and we got to. What I liked was some of the stuff with the Kit Fisto's Padawan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get into him here in a moment. I'm going to go and read our little blip from our episode guide, our trusty episode guide. I have that here with me. Once again, here we go. It says, Jedi Knight Kit Fisto tracks the escaped Newt Gunray to the moon of Vasek, where he meets his former Padawan, Nadar Vebb. The two Jedi realize Vasek is General Grievous's lair, and Nadar is eager to take revenge against the Separatist warlord. Is the young Jedi falling to the dark side? ? Are Fisto and Nadar walking into a trap? Also a question. What do you think?
Well, I would say Nadar Vebb was obsessed with the idea of power, and he said that there was a new set of rules in this world, and Fisto had a very different idea of that. He was basically saying, maybe it's you that has changed, not the rules. But you definitely see him trying to like impress his master, where he's, let me take care of this, always being the first one to step forward, wanting to try and take on Grievous alone. He was definitely image conscious for sure.
Yeah. And I think you're right on the money. I think they were starting to see Jedi, especially young Jedi, who were having a change of heart. They were being affected in different ways. Not so much masters at this point, but the younger ones were starting to have kind of a different view of it, throughout the show.
Right at the beginning of this episode, Kit Fisto is apologizing to Nadar Vebb, saying, "Hey, sorry, because of the Clone Wars, I wasn't there to finish your training." Yeah. So you're starting to see the first line of Jedi Knights going out there that didn't get the training that previous Jedis had gotten.
Right. And they even rushed. I don't know how much of it is canon at this point. Like Anakin, they rushed his training, and they said, "You're a Jedi Knight. You don't have to deal with it." So I think there was a lot of cutting corners at that point. So let's get into this episode right away. So I'm going to share some of my first images. And let's start with the fortune cookie. How's that sound?
Perfect. I always love the fortune cookies.
Yeah. Okay, it says the most powerful is he who controls his own power. And I think that's definitely talking about, the balance of the Force and like being a good Jedi and not falling to the dark side. You have a sense of control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to master restraint. That was the word that Kit Fisto had used.
Yeah, I hear you. So here we are. We have our man, Kit Fisto, and he looks just so cool. And they actually made us two characters for Kit Fisto. We'll get into the newer version a little bit later in the episode. But what do we have in front of him there?
RS? Is only R6,
R6, right? R6, yeah, it's R6H5. And I can't believe they didn't make this droid. I wonder if they thought that maybe Ahsoka's would stand in for him or something. But I just really thought this droid had a lot of charisma in this episode. I thought he was really great, even though we don't see him again. I don't think we see him again. I really thought he was great, and they really needed to make him, you know?
Yeah, that would have been nice because they actually released the Kit Fisto Jedi Starfighter. They did release them in realistic style, though.
Oh, in the Build-A-Droid, in the Disney Build-A-Droid?
I don't think it was a Build-A-Droid. I mean, I have him sitting in Elias's Kit Fisto Jedi Starfighter.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, they did make him. I'm trying to remember. I think remember those? They had like a clear.
They were called Droid
I guess
Factory.
it was like an octagon. It was a 2-pack, and it was,
Droid
I think, at
Factory.
Walmart. Yeah, the Droid Factory.
Yeah.
It came out in that line.
Yeah, I definitely collected some of those figures from that line, but definitely didn't get that one. I don't know how the paint comparison was to the actual live action version, if you want to call it that, but I really wish they made this droid, man. He was so cool, you know?
Yeah, it would have been nice just to get a little more variety in the Clone Wars droids. Yeah. Didn't you make them?
I did, and in fact, I'd like to show that at this time. So, folks, we're going to jump right into our first custom, and here it is. This is R6H5, and this is just a straight repaint on this figure. I think he turned out pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the head, the way you did the lights.
Yeah, I just kind of added a little bit embellishments here and there. I put a little shiny paint. I feel like whenever you do that middle eye right there, the center eye, the black eye or whatever.
Yeah, if you gloss it.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be glossy or it just doesn't look right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So there's that guy. I really wish they made him. I definitely want to make another one of these because I actually don't own him anymore.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
He made it out the door, huh?
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. But he was cool. So let's get back to the episode. And here we meet Nadar Vebb. Man, wouldn't it have been cool if you could actually put his lightsaber on his belt and he actually came with a cloak. Everybody else came with a cloak. I don't see why this dude.
Well, he wasn't a regular release. He was one of those mail-away figures.
And wasn't that cool? I thought that was great.
He was one of the last ones. I think they just the Boba Fett after that, the vintage Boba Fetts.
They did do the Boba Fett, but that was the heyday, I guess you could call it, of Hasbro. They were doing such cool things.
When they were doing everything right.
Exactly. It's hard to even say that, right?
Well, I mean, they did a good job then. Like Build-A-Droid was that, they had Build-A-Droid then. I think that was around the same time they did Build-A-Droid when Nadar Vebb came out.
Yeah. We were still in Legacy, but it was now called the Legacy, I guess, Legacy Red instead of like Legacy Blue, which was, more of a kind of a clone trooper helmet. But we went to this like really striking square card that had a really great picture on it, and we were able to get this character and mail away for him. And you were saying you really liked some of the things, the Wookiee gunner or the Wookiee. Who were the folks on that show? They did Wookiee Gunner. They did a really hilarious.
Wookiee Lover 1138. Yeah, they did this really cute skit. It's in episode 2 of Kessel Run Review. Yeah. And they do this little Nadar Vebb mail away. It's almost like one of those like 1999 promos.
Yeah.
And it's really cute.
I look back.
They also have an extended version of it. There's like a season 1 and season 2 of Kessel Run Review, like the commercials, because they made up all their like kooky commercials that were just awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend everyone check that out. Wookiee Lover 1138 YouTube page, and check out Kessel Run Review, which is her show. And that was a great show because they used to feature a lot of customizers on there.
Yeah, and you could really see kind of the heyday that they were having as well, all the great stuff that was coming out because they would review products and whatnot. So that's our shout out tonight. Hope you guys are doing well, and you guys really made a lot of fun for collectors over the years. So
oh yeah,
yeah. So here we are. This is just a dark episode, and I had to lighten a lot of these pictures, unfortunately, because this episode was so dark, and I think that's why it was the game changer. You know what I'm saying?
oh yeah. It
So
was like one of the first spiritual casualties of the Clone Wars that we saw.
Right. And so we get to this dark place, and here we have some of Nadar's troops, and man, why couldn't they just do a little repaint? You know what I'm saying? A little repaint. That's all we needed was a little repaint. So this is Commander Phil, and then behind him is Niner and Bell. And hopefully I'll get to it here pretty soon. But if you notice their guns, they have like these grappling arrows on their guns. And we didn't actually receive that gun until late in 2012, and we actually got it with Cody, but I think it was more supposed to be like a flashlight sort of thing. So we'll talk about that here in a moment, but this is my next custom I'd like to share, and this was my first rendition of Phil. And I was kind of hoping that we actually got Phil because he was just a simple repaint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's nice. That's a nice repaint.
Yeah. So he is the leader of the team. He's kind of the Captain Rex of this episode. And spoiler alert, he dies along with all the rest of the troopers.
From Gore, right? Was it from Gore, that like cybernetic dinosaur-looking thing?
It was Gore. It was Gore that
picked
did
him
it.
up in his tail and kind of smashed him around, right?
Right. And we'll get to him too. But right now I have an actual picture of one of the other troopers I'd like to share. And this is, I believe this is Niner, but Bell looked exactly the same way. And one of the customs I released today was Bell, where I did kind of the little lights on the helmet and whatnot. And this was the gun I was actually talking about. Do you notice this gun?
Yeah.
You see how it has that little, I guess it's a flashlight. It's supposed to be, I'm assuming, for the Krell arc, way down in season 4. Or is that in season 5? The Krell arc.
Oh, the Krell arc is season 4.
Yeah. So this gun wasn't made until 2012, but I thought it was a nice addition. If you're looking to make the troops from Lair of Grievous, this is a great kind of stand-in gun for that episode if you want to make those troops. So there you go on that. Do you have any of these troops? Do you have you been doing any of the troops?
Oh, for making clones?
Yeah.
I never really make the clones. I'm usually trying to make characters that haven't been made yet.
Yeah, like background characters and whatnot.
Background, or like even like O.C. Sobex, or people.
Oh yeah, main villains and all around galactic weirdos, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, let's keep moving here. I'm gonna move away from Bell here. You can definitely check this guy out on my page. I just shared him today. And man, here we go. They get into Grievous's castle. What a great castle! Right in the middle of a rock, basically. I guess Grievous was initially a cockroach before he, became this cybernetic champion.
It was cool the way they showed the statues and how they showed the progression. Like first he had cybernetic hands, then he had cybernetic arms, and they kind of like break you
Yeah.
through all the stages that he kind of
And,
went through.
and there was a kind of a mystery too. You get to the first picture and he's holding up what looks like a severed head, and you're
That's
just
the
like,
same kind of alien. Remember in the episode where Ahsoka was working in the library and then she
right.
talked to that one master? That's the same type of, or at least it looks like the same type of alien.
Yeah, I forget what that dude's Ord Innocence, but he's like Potsnikin from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Got my geek going right now. Yeah, so like he was saying, they open up the castle and they start walking in, and it's super dark, and they open these doors and they're like, where the heck are we? What is going on here? So they see these different statues, and I think this one right here gives it away with the arms, but you just see a progression of this guy, like this warrior, ripping his limbs off basically, and just making them, perfecting himself.
Yeah,
To
giving
be
himself enhancements.
right, to be the best warrior. Even this one here,
Yeah.
he has a shield and a spear. It's pretty amazing. So
those enhancements were pretty good though, because when they shot the cables in his legs and they, cut the top of his legs off, he was able to hang from like a beam in the ceiling, pick up one of the troopers, and like really, I mean, toss him to the point of like hit the ground and die force, kind of
I
force.
thought that was amazing. So once we got into this, yeah, we find out
So cool.
it's Grievous's house. They're in hell right now. They're basically in hell. They're seeing all these different things. And did you know this was the first time we actually see Grievous retract his forearms? This was actually the first time, because in the Malevolence arc, he actually doesn't open up his arms. And I was wondering when that was going to happen. And this was actually a really exciting part, for me anyway, because I was just amazed by him, retracting those arms out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it was cool to see him be able to fight two Jedi at once, because before we saw him fight Kenobi. But to see, him take on two Jedi with 4 arms, 4 lightsabers, that was a nice treat.
Yeah. And like you said, they cut his legs off, and they used those grappling guns to, in a sense, hold him down while they cut his legs off. And even though he didn't even have legs, it didn't stop him. He was just crawling around, and he was just still sassing everybody. He was just like, just running around. He was like, you're in my house. You're not going to affect me. And we saw from all those parts that he just has backup, and he ultimately doesn't really care if he gets an appendage, lopped off or something like that. But he eventually does get new legs. And I'm going to go into our next custom that I would like to share, and that was my Grievous. And you had talked about this when we were talking about some of the other episodes. So
probably somewhere in the Malevolence arcs, because he featured pretty prominently in those.
Right. Yeah. And what you're seeing here, folks, is you're actually seeing a Grievous that has retractable arms. Like, I made it so you can retract the arms, and they have a level of articulation, not to the extent of what they did in the Legacy collection, but this was far greater than the Grievous, the original Grievous, the first Grievous that they gave us.
I wish you could zoom in on the eyes, because you did such a nice paint job on the eyes.
It's a little blurry. Do you know where that head is from? That's a little trivia for you, because it's not the head that actually came on the Grievous. If you can,
Don't say where it's from. Let's see if people will put it in the comments.
yeah.
We'll get something interactive going, and then we'll tell next week where it came from.
Well, okay. Let's see if I can skip the picture really fast because.
Don't worry about it then. Tell them. It's all right.
What I
didn't know they were picked.
Yeah, what I did was, it's not a big deal. At the time when they made the first Grievous, he was not necessarily, would you say, up to par? You know, he wasn't very.
He was nothing close to as cool as that.
Yeah. So what I did is I took the time to make a bunch of articulation on this guy. And if you notice the head and the feet, they're a little bit bigger. They're a little bit different than what was initially put out. And this is before we got the Shadows of the Dark Side Grievous, the one with the kind of the blast point on his face and the arms that were cut off and whatnot. What this is, it's a General Grievous keychain. Have you ever seen this keychain?
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
This keychain was available at the time when these figures came out. And if you notice the toes, and this is not a very good picture, so I apologize. The toes are way thicker, and the feet are a little bit more bulky, so they would have a better time standing.
Oh yeah, probably because the weight makes it.
But look at that head. Look at the wings on the face.
I love that head.
Yeah. And I bought like 4 or 5 of these.
No way.
To produce that thing. And folks, you literally have to cut it into pieces. If you're going to go and like find this keychain, if you want to go and get it, you literally have to cut him in pieces. And I had to drill a hole in the back of it so it would fit the peg and everything. But there's the Grievous. He has a lot of articulation. Let me see if I can back out of this real fast, and I will show you an actual version of him, the live version of him. So here he is. This is the Grievous we're talking about, and you know, if you can see that there, you can see kind of the range of motion that it has. And I actually have a gun in his hand because.
So how did you make those pin joints?
So unfortunately, I did not bring it up. You know the spider droid from the Jawa 2-pack, the spider Treadwell droid, and the.
Yep. Hold on, let me check. I got it right here, possibly.
Oh, cool.
This is the one. This one here. Hold on. The one that has the head that comes off. All right, hold on. Here we go. This one here?
Yes, indeed. So if you notice, on the arms there, they have a really nice articulation in the joint. And what I did is I used those arms to make these.
That's pretty cool. That's a great idea.
So I have the full range of motion in there. And what I did is I glued those ball joints in there to make that full range of motion. And like I said, it's not as good as the Legacy version, but it's suitable for a Clone Wars because, yes, they can combine together. I actually have a peg in there. You can't see the peg very well, but they literally close up. So I actually have an arm that can collapse on itself. So, and then on top of that, I made sure he could do the splits and everything, and I gave him double joints in the knees. And this was long before they made that. They went back and actually made a Grievous for that episode specific. And I thought that was totally cool that they went back and they
heads and damaged parts and
right. And they not only did they make that Grievous, a new Grievous specific for that episode, they also made a Kit Fisto for that episode.
Yeah,
and I have him available as well. And they actually took the time to, give him a little smile. He looks way better than the original one that they put out. I really like that Kit Fisto.
It is a nice one.
It's really great, and they gave him Nadar Vebb's lightsaber and everything, and
which was pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's move back to the episode and move away from that Grievous. And if you have any questions on that Grievous, you can certainly contact me, PM me. I'd certainly love to give any advice on how to make one if you want one. So
that was actually one of my first pieces of yours I ever saw. That Grievous. It was like 6 years ago, but
yeah,
that was my introduction to your work, I think.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have since made another one that doesn't have a retractable arms. I haven't actually attempted going back to the retractable arms, but I made it a point to actually collect the parts again and make another one at some point that has retractable arms, to sell it or something.
All right, you have a buyer.
Very cool. Very cool. So here we are back in the episode. Oh. And man, I'll tell you, his castle was so cool. He had everything hanging. He even had his Magna Guards hanging. And he finds out that Count Dooku did him wrong, kind of turned his robots off and whatnot. But you can't turn off this guy. And this was the next thing I wanted to talk about. Still have yet to make one of these, but this is
he's a good size. I mean, that would be quite the undertaking, just because the mass. He'd probably be. What do you think about this big if he was an action figure? At
least he would. Yeah. I would say he's the size of maybe a small T-Rex, or I don't know, you dinosaur people out there, you tell us what.
And he has the cybernetics also, just like Grievous.
Oh man, it'd be so much fun to make this guy. Oh man, yeah. I just I really want to get to a point where I'm making the beasts at some point. So we know that Gore there, his name is Gore, that's his pet. He tries to kill everybody and does not succeed. So what they do is they send out the Magna Guards and they make sure that they don't have a way home. So the Magna Guards go ahead and they blow up Niner and Bell and the ship also. I think Dave Filoni at one point, he was joking around. He was saying, how are you going to get everybody off of the planet? So you have to kill everybody off, because Kit Fisto's really the only one that
he's
has
a survivor.
Yeah, he's the only one that actually has a ship. It was kind of like Attack of the Clones, you know what I'm saying? Where, how would Obi-Wan take Jango back to the Jedi Temple? You know what I'm saying? In his small little Jedi starfighter, maybe he had like a trunk or something like that.
Yeah,
he had to get away, and I think this was kind of that same kind of thing where he had to get away.
I thought it was interesting that Grievous had his whole lair set up with booby traps. Like, he was expecting people to show up at some point, and he was ready for them.
Yeah, you never can tell. Who knows how long that guy is home?
Yeah,
on a regular basis. So he probably just decided to set up traps for while
nasty spiders.
Yeah, right.
Well, what was cool? I don't know if you saw the extras on the Blu-ray, but Dave Filoni had said that, part of what they had thought about when they were creating the story for Grievous was that at some point in his life he wanted to be a Jedi, but he wasn't Force sensitive. So that's why he started doing the cybernetics in the first place.
Nice. Yeah, I did hear that. He just wanted to be the best warrior that he could possibly be. And he knew that it wasn't going to be through Jedi or Sith, so he had to do whatever he could. and he was a great tactician or an excellent general, one of the best generals in the galaxy or something like that. So Dooku kind of seduced him in his own way, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. We're going to go to our next picture. And this guy, wow, I really wanted to make this guy. And I started making one, and it ended up being more of like I called it an EV100. It's not a great representation of this character, so I won't show it. And I just really wish we got this guy because he was amazing. His name is A4D. And they modeled his voice after Paul Lynde. He was kind of a comedian of his time. He was on like Hollywood Squares. He was kind of a snarky comedian, kind of like the guy from Get Smart, but a little bit more, hey, whatever, I can't really do a good impression of him, but look him up, Paul Lynde. He's a really funny comedian from a long time ago. You young folks, you might not even care, but he was a great comedian, and that's what they modeled this guy's voice after. And what they say in the featurette for this episode is that he could talk smack to Grievous all day, and he's the only one that can get away with it without getting a lightsaber or something through him. But I loved how he went through the episode, talking smack and just getting things done while he was, in the episode. He was busy. What'd you think? What'd you think?
I think if Hasbro ever released the Build-A-Droid, and they did Build-A-Droid again, I think they should do 4AD, High Singer, and Hu Yang, and I'd be a happy man.
Oh, for sure. Those are some.
That would be top of my list.
Those are all some good ones. Droids, standing droids, not non-astromechs, really don't get enough love, in my opinion.
No, they don't.
Standing droids, unless it's like a protocol droid.
Astromechs really have it made, especially now that Disney has that Build-A-Droid program.
Yeah, and that's a great program.
Astromech. Oh, I love it.
I wish I was a little closer to that. A little closer to Disneyland or Disney World, so I can
take advantage.
Yeah, I have a few here and there that I've gotten lucky on, but for the most part, it's a really cool thing. I hope they don't stop it anytime soon.
Yeah, I would like them to start doing
right,
one more round so we can get the Hu Yang, the High Singer, and this guy.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's move on. Here we are at the end of the episode, and we have Kit Fisto angry because something happened. What happened earlier with our buddy Nadar Vebb? He was getting kind of angry. He was kind of turning to the dark side, and he was overconfident, I think. And what happened to him?
Don't get cocky, kid.
Right. So Grievous pulls out a gun and shoots him in the gut, and that's actually Nadar Vebb's saber that Kit Fisto is holding. And when he's fighting Grievous, he actually cuts Grievous's hand off once again, and just opens up a can of what on Grievous. But by the end, the Magna Guards had come out, and he eventually has to just go home. He just has
bail.
He has to bail because the whole mission is lost. They blew up Nadar Vebb's troop, or was that Kit Fisto's troop? I wonder. But
that is a good question.
Yeah,
well, no, because Kit Fisto was alone, so I would say it was Nadar Vebb's. Because I think at some point, I don't know where I even read this, but Nadar Vebb was like working in the medical fields or something like that. And I think he was doing something through Coruscant. And those guys looked like the Coruscant Guard. They had the maroon colorings, but
kind of red, maroon, kind of.
Yeah,
it's all over the place. I have since gotten rid of that Commander Phil that I showed earlier in the show, and I actually did another one. I can show him real fast. Also, he's a little too red, in my opinion, but I have since done another one of Commander Phil since I got rid of the other one, and all this really is a repaint, folks, of Rex. Of Rex, you would of course have to kind of shave down the joint, or the key ring, I call it, the key ring in the shoulder, to kind of get a different color on the paint. Do you run into that at all, Brian?
Oh yeah, I use a router bit for my Dremel. It almost looks
Yeah.
like a ball with some grooves in it. And I'll just lightly go over, the top layer and just take a little off. So that way when that other end of the arm, I guess, moves along there, it doesn't scrape anything off. And then I have like this round nylon brush. I'll switch and I'll just go there just to smooth the surface, because when you use that router, sometimes it'll leave some hard, jagged edges. And if I put that nylon brush on the end and just go over the joint really quick with that, it's great because it smooths the surface, and when you have the paint, you would never even tell that anything was altered at all.
Yeah. You'll run into that from time to time with figures, especially if you want to change the color of the shoulder joint or any of the joints in there. It's because that key ring joint is PVC, and that's it's a harder plastic, obviously, and it's made in a way that it doesn't really take to new paint. So
it's not very porous.
Right. You ultimately have to shave it down a little bit to make sure it new paint adheres to whatever key joint you're deciding to paint. So let's.
I've heard of people dyeing them before, but
yeah, I've seen that too, and
it's like one of those things where you kind of put a pot roast in there, you cook it. What are those things called? Those red, I don't know, the stew pot. I don't know, but I've seen people use those to dye their figures before.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah,
the things that people do.
Yeah.
Not everybody is the same. There's all kinds of different ways to customize. You can get there all kinds of different ways. No way is wrong, and trial and error is going to happen, and things.
It's all
that
about
you do,
the end result.
Yeah, right. As long as you're achieving what you feel is a great figure,
Yeah.
So let's move on to the last bit of it, and I will pop it up right here. And so here we are back on Coruscant, and he has to basically check in with the council, and we get this little blip from Yoda. He says something like that, something like, if we're losing ourselves, basically, if we succumb to anger and using your own power or something like that. I don't remember the comment, but that's basically the end of the episode.
I have it, actually, if you want.
Let's hear it.
Jedi tempted to use power. Oh, no, never mind.
No.
It was just something about young Jedi are being tempted to use power to win the war. I had something along those lines.
I looked at this portion of the episode like a hearkening back to episode 2, and I really liked when they connected it with episode 2. You see that periodically. You see like the kind of the troops lining up and getting on the Star Cruiser, and there's little hints to connecting to the films. And I just love that. I think that's great. So that is our episode, and I just love that episode. Like I said in the beginning, I think this is where it starts getting real.
Yeah,
we're gonna get some
exciting stuff for us. I mean, this is where we get to, like, the next episodes we're gonna be getting into in the next week is gonna be fun.
Yeah, next week we're going to be going into Dooku Captured, and you know what's in there, don't you?
Oh yeah, Hondo.
Oh man, one of my favorite characters of all time. He's just so brilliantly done. So
This
brilliantly
is one of
done.
my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah, next week is one of my favorite episodes from the Clone
yeah,
Wars in general.
yeah.
Always like that one.
So we're definitely going to be hashing it out next week. You know,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just uphill from here. It's just really awesome stuff coming our way. So anything else you wanted to add to that episode? That was Lair of Grievous.
I think we covered everything. I had grabbed like some of. Oh, you know what? Yes, this was an episode that they actually offered a director's cut on the discs, which we had extended. We had an extended version of the episode that we didn't have originally when it first premiered.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
the only thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, I really loved Rookie's
They had
director's
some
cut.
cool like art too in the.
Oh yeah. See,
Remember,
like I said,
like all this
cockroach.
art. Yep.
Cockroach.
And then they had like the statues, the different concepts of the statues and stuff. But yeah, that was one. I love the sets that they put out there.
Yeah, they had some fun sets. I have every single one. You can also check it out on Netflix. We'll just give Netflix a little plug.
Oh yeah.
I'll be sad when that's off of there.
Bite your tongue.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to believe in the having a digital copy of your stuff. No wonder
Oh yeah.
all these companies like Disney do this stuff where you have a digital copy and a regular copy. But I liked having the regular original copy as well for stuff like you just showed, like that art and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that is our show tonight. Thanks for joining us. We do very much appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming along with us on this mission. And you can find me at my Facebook pages. That is Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations and the Clone Wars Custom Action Figures on Facebook. Where can we find you, sir?
Okay. www.customsforthekid.blogspot.com. From there, you can get connections to Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, you name it. It's all there. It's all on the sidebar. And yeah, may the force be with you.
Awesome. See you guys.